Welcome to the War Corgi News Network, your #1 site for news regarding the rebellion in the galaxy. I am Michael Cochran and joined here by my co-host,
Chris Peterson.
Chris, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, in recent news, war has broken out across the galaxy as Supreme Chancellor Palpatine has wrested control of the Senate, executed Order 66 to kill all Jedi, and has declared himself commander and leader over all the free planets.
We shall bring peace and justice to our new empire. There we go. So, some fine commanders lining up on the side of the Imperials, including myself, Commander Michael. We have Stormtrooper Corps Captain Mark and Stormtrooper Corps First Lieutenant Mark, no relation. Ensign Jameson, also of the Stormtrooper Corps, and then Warrant Officer Troy. Again, Troy. Well, supporting those 5 leaders on the Outer Rim are our Operatives. ISB agent Ron Armstrong, who also does our color commentary for the Outer Rim, and ISB agent Michael Campbell.
Well, as these leaders in the Empire have risen up to wrest control of the galaxy, they are met by leaders of the Resistance as well. You've got myself, Hot Dice Pete, Scary Gary, Jim of All Trades, Jason Two Toes, and Dylan. And might I add, we have a few more operatives than you have. Actually, one more at this time. Causing local uprisings across the galaxy in the outer regions. We have Blue Falcon, Hawkwinter, and Lamb Chop.
Those are some intimidating names, Chris, and good luck with that.
They sure are.
Both sides are currently recruiting, so if you're interested in joining this campaign as an operative for either the Rebel Alliance or the Empire, make sure you check out the War Corgi YouTube channel in the link below. But now, it's time for some rules talk.
Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Cozy Rules Corner, where every episode we discuss the rules that we're using in this campaign. Now, I should note that following the conclusion of this campaign, we're going to try to publish a PDF that covers all of the rules that we've been using in one document. So if you want to run a campaign at home, you can. But this is a little bit more relaxed segment, nice atmosphere. So let's go over some rules.
All right. So in our campaign, there is a grand total of 32 planets in our campaign. Now, of these 32 planets, both the Empire and the Rebel Alliance have gotten to pick 7 planets to start with, 4 of them coming from their own sector, but then 3 of them chosen by our kind of team, our group, kind of in draft fashion, trying to take places that we find strategic in the campaign.
So now those 32 planets on the Star Wars Rebellion board are put into 8 separate regions. Control of an entire region gives your faction a bonus. And that bonus is a capital ship, but either of the variety that allows you to start an Armada mission when we go into campaign round 2, or an extra attack cruiser to launch attacks on the campaign board. Right. So as far as the planets themselves are concerned, they also provide resources. So you want to talk about some of the resources that we can get?
Sure. So we've set this up to where every planet will either provide one of 2 things. I shouldn't say every planet, most planets.
Most planets.
Will provide one of 2 things. A planet will either provide your entire team the ability to field 3 of a particular unit in total, or it will provide a resource token which will allow your team to pick one specific unit to bring to a battle.
So it should be noted that both teams have unlimited access to all the troops choices in their army complement and all the generic commanders they want to bring. Unique characters are available as well, but they can only be used once per turn in a system. So the units that we're talking about here are your special forces, your support, and your heavy support, and there's another one in there too. Nope, that might be it.
That is it.
That is
yes.
it.
Yeah.
So sometimes those resources are on the same planet, like in the case of Celeste, we have our Death Troopers there. The Rebels, you have your Pathfinders there.
Yes, and so if we have a lot of players that want to use their Pathfinders in games, we will be trying to target that planet, or we might simply not want to see Death Troopers in our battles and be trying to deny that. Now, this doesn't mean that they will not be able to use Death Troopers. It means that for every Death Trooper unit they bring, they must spend one of their cumulative team's resource tokens in order to bring it. Whereas if we hold it, we have 3 Pathfinders we can split up amongst our 5 lists, amongst our 5 players.
Yeah, so very valuable to hold one of those planets that provide 3 of a resource type.
Yeah.
A little less valuable, but more flexible when you hold a planet that provides a generic resource point for general use.
And then there are a few planets that provide neither a resource or a special unit. And really, those ones come into play more for when you're trying to control a whole sector so that you get additional attacks per round.
Yep. And so what this mechanic does, essentially, Chris, is it makes sure that when we play the 4 or 6 games in a campaign turn, the Rebels aren't running 18 Tauntauns.
Yes.
Because you do that, wouldn't you?
If I had 18 Tauntauns, they'd be on the table.
So it encourages a diverse list building. The same thing when we cover later on in a future episode how heroes and unique characters work. It's encouraging people to play units that they might not normally play.
Yes, and it's also great for community building.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, as communities, we have some players that just love to play their particular unique characters, and they play them well. And so they feel like they're part of the team and part of the group when you say, hey, you've always performed well with Han Solo. You're our Han Solo player. You get to take Han all the time. Or Gary maybe with his air speeders.
Yeah,
possibly bringing those in.
Jameson with Vader. So we have some players who are really good with some pieces. And when we launch them out for a campaign game, they kind of know what they need to bring, and then they go back to the group as a whole. We discuss lists. We tell them how many resources they can take from the community pool, and it's been a lot of fun in the Imperial chat.
Oh yeah, every day, just lines and lines and lines of text from all the excitement. So
now, last thing to add is the Operatives on the Outer Rim, our Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for supporting. They are playing separate missions, not tied to the map campaign, but influencing the map campaign. So they're not moving on the board like everyone in St. Louis is. What they are doing is they're playing these separate missions in their local play groups, which have a direct effect on what we can do inside the campaign. So sure. I think that's good enough for this first episode. Mm-hmm. We've covered planets, we've covered regions, we've covered resources. All right, so let's take a break.
Okay.
Welcome back to the War Corgi News Network, and now we are going to take a look at the campaign map. We're going to be doing this every episode so we can show you what the state of play is in the campaign, and both commanders can go over the strategy for their teams. Now, I am the Imperial Commander, Commander Michael. Unfortunately, the Rebel Commander could not make it here this week. But we got Chris.
Joke's on you. The secret Rebel Commander is Troy, who's already infiltrated your ranks.
Yeah, this is a sure path to victory for us then. So let's do a map overview real quick, and we're going to start with the Imperial side. They have, of course, Coruscant as their home planet, and they have the 3 other planets in their region of Alderaan, Cato, Nemoria, and Corellia. While over here we have the Rebels. Chris, you want to go over what they have to start?
Absolutely, yes. We got to start with Mon Calamari, Yavin, Felucia, and Selukami.
Okay, now it's worth noting that Cato Nemoria provides my team with 3 Imperial Royal Guard units to share amongst ourselves, and then 1, 2, 3 generic resource tokens for any Imperial unit out of the heavy support, or special forces.
Yes, and to match the Imperial start, the Rebels got to start with 3 resource tokens of their own, and also Felucia is going to provide the Rebel Alliance with 3 commando units to use as well. That won't be restricted to full commando teams. Those can be commando sniper teams as well.
Okay, excellent. So after we had our home region secured, we rolled off a dice, and the Rebels won that roll through shenanigans.
Without Chris Peterson touching it, can you believe?
Hot Dice Peterson? Hot Dice Pete?
Hot Dice Pete.
So the Rebels were able to choose which planet they wanted first. Now, anywhere in the galaxy was open to them. Chris, where did you guys choose?
Well, the very first placement that we had was all the way over here on Endor. And we chose Endor because Endor comes with 3 ATRT units that we can add to our list. Now, we're all Rebel players. We've all bought the core set. We all own ATRT units, so it wasn't going to be difficult to decide who gets to use them. And then also, ATRTs locally have been having a lot of success.
I think locally and across the country.
In our player group. Yeah, that point change was very nice to them.
Indeed. Now that had the added bonus of preventing the Imperials from making use of the speeder bikes.
Yes. Another bonus.
Now, the nightmare scenario for the Imperials was if you had both Endor and Hoth. And that continues to keep us up at night, because Hoth is the home of Tauntauns, and less importantly, the E-Webs. And since movement on the campaign board can be fairly slow, if they would have wrapped up both these planets, it could have spelled bad news for us. So not so much to secure the E-Webs, but to prevent the Rebels from getting Tauntauns, which I also hear are good, we took Hoth in our first move.
They're mediocre at best, let's be honest.
You're mediocre at best.
All right. So our second capture of a planet over here was to take Toydaria. Now, Toydaria wasn't taken because it provides a specific bonus to the Rebel Alliance. It was a move to deny the Imperials the ability to get ATSTs, or I should say the ability to easily get ATSTs without spending those resource tokens.
Quite right. So to counter that, the Imperials took Kashyyyk. That denied the Rebels access to the Wookiee warriors, at least in bulk, and gave us access to the Occupier tank, which a couple of local players have and are excited to use. Now, as important as that is the geographic position of Kashyyyk. This is close to the Imperial lines and will allow us to attack into Toydaria or Solakami, really getting close to Mon Calamari if we can sustain an offensive push in that direction.
Yes, and so seeing that, it kind of influenced our third pick. Over here, we came to Nal Hutta with our third pick. We did so because this planet provides the Rebel Alliance with 3 airspeeder units for their lists. Now, we were concerned that so early on, without so many planets and just a few resource tokens, we wouldn't be able to fill our lists. So we went for a heavy unit that cost quite a bit to field. I know locally our player group loves to use the airspeeder unit, especially after that point balance update many months back, and we thought it would assist us.
And that's why you shall lose. For our last play, the Imperials went with Tatooine. It's kind of a remote system. It doesn't help us too much as far as the strategy and geography is concerned, but it does allow us access to dewbacks. And dewbacks are a new unit. I got 2 for Christmas. Anxious to put those on the table. Now, unfortunately, they're not great counters for the T-47 airspeeders, but maybe they can hold their own against the rest of the Rebel Alliance. So with that, at the end of the setup, going into turn 1, the Imperials have Coruscant, Corellia, Cato Numidia, Alderaan, Hoth, Kashyyyk, and Tatooine, gaining the resources of E-Webs here, dewbacks here, Occupier tanks here, and keeping IRGs there.
Okay. The Rebel Alliance is coming in with Mon Calamari, Yavin, Felucia, Salukami, Nal Hutta, Toydaria, and Endor, where we get to obtain 3 ATRTs for Endor, 3 airspeeders for Nal Hutta. We get to obtain 3 commando units for Felucia, and then we get strategic resources from Mon Calamari, Yavin, Salukami, and Toydaria.
Fantastic. So next episode, we're going to be back with turn 1 moves. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good map talk.
I did well.
You're going to lose, loser. All right, so now we're going to...
Fighting words.
We're going to toss it to our Outer Rim Correspondent from our affiliate network, Cocky Rooster. Check out Cocky Rooster on the YouTube channel. He's an up-and-coming broadcaster of battle reports, which is kind of like what I do. So... Ron, what do you got up for us out there, my friend?
This is Ron Armstrong of Cocky Rooster Miniature Gaming. I've been assigned the task of being the Outer Rim Correspondent for the War Corgi News Network. War Corgi has started up a campaign. It's using Rebellion, Armada, and Legion. And what's happening is he's playing local games in St. Louis with his friends out there. And then if you're a Patreon like myself, you would play side missions that contribute to the campaign.
Ron, the signal's a little shaky there, my friend, but good job. We look forward to hearing from you in the future. Chris?
Michael?
Good night.